All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Michigan City Park Board meeting of February 5th, 2020. If you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And Shannon, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Latchford?
Here.
Mr. Freeze?
Here.
Mr. Lang?
Here.
Ms. Espar?
Here.
Thank you. And first of all, I'd like to welcome Mr. Mack, our City Council liaison. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We have the minutes from our previous meeting of January 22nd, 2020 before us. Unless there are any changes, additions, deletions, we have a motion to approve.
I would so move that we approve the minutes from our meeting January 22nd, 2020.
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Move into old business and some project updates. Jeremy?
Thank you. Regarding the old Lighthouse Museum project, the contract has officially been signed by Garrett Construction and they were issued the notice to proceed. We are still waiting on the project timeline from Garrett, but we anticipate receiving that fairly soon with the anticipated start date, weather pending, still of April 1st. So we're right on schedule, right on chart to get that project going around April 1st and should hopefully be done by the contract date, which was June 30th.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions for the superintendent? Any questions from the public? Seeing none, we'll move on to table business and have a motion to remove the Park Department 2020 fourth quarter report off the table or reintroduce it, please.
I so move that we remove from the table our fourth quarter report.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, so at our last meeting, we briefly reviewed the report, and as we historically do, we table it to allow comments from the public. Did we receive any comments?
We did not receive any.
All right. So, any further discussion about the report from the board? All right, seeing none, and since we discussed at our last meeting, and considering there are no changes or comments, do we have a motion to approve the Park Department fourth quarter 2020 report?
I so move.
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, we'll begin our new business, and the first item on the agenda is the 2020 Great Lakes Grand Prix Major Event License Agreement. Jeremy.
Yes, and to start with this evening, I put a packet in front of each one of you just for your own leisure. That was provided by Visit Michigan City Report, Mr. Arnett. It's in regard to the economic impact study done by CertTech Inc. Regarding the 2019 event. So a pretty good read, very exciting numbers in there for our community, LaPorte County as a whole. And if Mr. Arnett wants to speak on that at all or go in depth on that, then he is free to. But with that, our event, the 2020 Great Lakes Grand Prix, which is the 12th annual Great Lakes Grand Prix here in Michigan City. We're looking at July 30th through August 2nd down in Washington Park. And same as last year as far as terms of our agreement, we would receive $5,000 from Visit Michigan City LaPorte. And the diagram or the attachment was, if you notice, it says 2019, it's last year's. Obviously, they're still going to get vendors, and so some of this is a little bit subject to change, but the basic concept of it will remain the same as far as the layout, as far as what they are requesting to shut down from a parking standpoint or lot standpoint. And we are fully capable of handling this event from a Park Department staffing standpoint, as we have been in the past. And Mr. Arnett, if you have anything to add or board questions, I'd be happy to take those at this time.
Thank you, Jeremy. Any questions from the board? Jeremy, is there anything that's changed from the previous year?
Nothing has changed. Everything is remaining the same. Again, it would just be any type of vendors or anything from that standpoint that they end up, changing from last year. But in terms of the agreement, what the area, the space we're giving them to I guess for the pit areas or for the boats to stage, all that is remaining the same.
Thank you. Obviously, last year we saw a big increase in the number of participants, and it seemed to be a very successful event. Do we anticipate the same sort of success this summer?
My understanding, Mr. Arnett, and please, probably more for you to comment on, but it's supposed to grow in size is what we hear.
Welcome. Yes, good to see everybody again. It's been a great partnership, and thank you for the opportunity to let the CVB bring this event into our community. It's a big deal. It's huge. It's a game changer for all of us, and then we enjoy the partnership a lot. As far as Mr. Latchford, as far as any changes with regards to the race itself, as Jeremy pointed out, it's pretty much static. It's going to stay just about like it did. The number of race teams is going to go up a little bit. We've added jet skis. Last year was the first year for that. The group out of London that promotes that has agreed to come back this year. And last year was really a trial run with that. We expect a lot more in that. At that level this year, number of race teams is going to, we went from 26, which was our normal under the old provider, to 72 last year, and they're telling us about 80 this year. Everybody wants on this bandwagon. They love Michigan City. As you know, one of the race teams has given us a significant amount of money directly to our zoo. It's my understanding he plans to do that again. Those are some of the residual effects that we get out of this. Thousands of dollars to go to our zoo is amazing from an event like this. That's something you don't expect necessarily. But again, they love Michigan City. They like being here. And so we're excited about the opportunity for you to let us come down and use Washington Park. But other than that, not too many changes.
Great.
And we'll keep everybody, staff updated on any minor changes that would come up. Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing that I would like to add, we've had a lot of discussion amongst the board regarding the high lake levels and losing of the beach, and that's been a constant theme. So from a spectator standpoint, we're going to have probably limited area for them to sit all along the beach. So we just need to make sure we're coordinating accordingly, depending on when races are, if you're still doing the beach volleyball, because we're going to start getting real tight in some of those areas. So I just want to, from that standpoint, let's begin thinking about that and working together on it. I don't want to eliminate it because I think it's been a great partnership as well for this event. But from a spectator standpoint, specifically if there's racing on Saturday and Sunday, which my understanding is there is going to be again this year, we just want to take that into account.
Absolutely. And our first meeting with infrastructure folks and community partners is the 25th. Jeremy actually will be at that meeting. And we're going to start talking about those things, talking about how we're going to stretch the viewing area out. And we're changing the tent structure, as Jeremy knows, a little bit to accommodate more VIP passes. That's the hottest ticket in town right now. It's getting the VIP pass. And so we've got to stretch that out. And we found out that the other races on the circuit actually make quite a bit of money. Their income level is pretty high by selling those, and we just didn't do a lot of that. So we're going to maybe offer a lot more to the community there to buy, and that'll help offset some of our losses too. But the bottom line is we're going to take certainly the viewing area into consideration as that comes in. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Arnett. Any other questions from the board? Any questions from the public?
Kathy Stransky, 223 East Barker Ave.
Welcome.
Thank you. Here's my question. Money is tight in Michigan City this year. It's all over the newspaper. It's just tight. When we incur this race, which is a great thing for the city, there's money made, but they still come back to the Common Council for overtime, for police, for fire, the expenses. They come back to the council for. I don't know that we could absorb all kinds of big expenses again this year without help from the visitors. Whoever's making all the money can't kick something back to help alleviate some of that money from the council.
Well, I think it may be a misnomer that a lot of people are making money off this event. I think the CVB, I don't think it's a profit center for them yet because they have to pay a sponsorship for the racers to come in. I think the benefactors of all this are the city of Michigan City, the entrepreneurs, the restaurants, the hotels. They're the ones making all the money. In terms of the city taking on expense, you're absolutely right. Overtime,
Yes.
it is part of, hopefully it's budgeted for, because this has been an event this will be the 12th year maybe.
that we've accounted for that in previous years, and that therefore we've accounted for it this year. But I think it's an expense that the city has agreed to absorb because of the benefit, the collateral benefit for everyone in the community.
Okay,
That's
because,
my best.
yeah, because we are short money this year, and that's a concern. And they may put it in their budget, but they may not be budgeting the overtime for that event. That's what I'm saying. You know,
Okay.
they always come back for more money.
Sure. Thank you. And Mr. Arnett, did you have a comment and address the maybe the profitability of the
You cleared up the profit side of that question real well. Yeah, we don't make any money at all on the race. It all goes back to our hotels and our community partners, our restaurants. But the overtime, for example, that the police incur for security, we pay that directly to, we contract out with the FOP and we pay them back for that. That's something that we've done all along. So that's not something that would necessarily be accumulative to the budget, I wouldn't think. And I think you nailed the other part of it, that they already account for the other costs that may be, which are pretty limited when you take the security overtime out of it. That's the big nut that they have to get, and we pay that back to them.
Yeah. Thank you for clarifying that.
Okay, because they do come to the council for money. And they say it's overtime for the boat race, so we'll see what happens this year.
All right. Thank you for your concerns and comments. Any other questions? Any other comments? All right, seeing none, do we have a motion to approve the 2020 Great Lakes Grand Prix Major Event License Agreement?
I would be delighted to make the motion to pass on vote the 2020 Great Lakes Grand Prix License Agreement as it's stated here tonight.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Good luck. Next item, the Park Department 2019 Annual Report. Jeremy?
Yes, and that is in front of the board this evening. It was in your packet for review, and I'd be happy to answer any potential questions and or open it up for comment at this time.
Thank you, Jeremy. Any questions or comments from the board?
Are we going to, as we've done in the past, are we going to table this to the next meeting to give everyone an opportunity to go through it? Because I don't know if everyone on the board has gone through it. It's only 61 pages long, and it is about as complete as could possibly. I have read through it, and honestly, it's unbelievably detailed and to the point. And I think it took me 4 hours over a couple of days to read through everything. But I don't know if everyone else has had that opportunity, so I think it might be a better idea to just table it until our next meeting and give everyone an opportunity. I have several questions, but I'm happy to wait until the next meeting. That's the pleasure of the board.
Is that your motion?
motion? I would be happy to make that motion. We'll table it until the next meeting.
Second.
So, if before there's a motion and a second, is there any benefit to addressing some concerns now, or waiting till our meeting on February 19th? For example, Mr. Lang had mentioned he's got some concerns.
Yeah, I would be happy to address a couple of them now if we have the time, but I'm very happy to wait until our next meeting.
Or is it best that he addresses this between now and the next meeting so that it can be, if corrections need to be made or questions answered, they can be incorporated when we meet next time?
Yeah, Mr. President, that's what I was going to recommend is if the board could submit any of those in writing, and then we can detail those out and go one by one through those, because this will be the same annual report that'll be out for the public to review as well, if the board so chooses to table it. And then we can handle any board comments, questions, along with any public comment and questions at our next meeting, if the board chooses.
Very good. Any other comments?
I just would like to mention that several of my questions are probably weather-related as far as attendance at different events. And I have no question as to why did this occur, other than was this something that was weather-related where the numbers were greater one time than in another. And I would be the first to admit, and I think people who may be watching the park department has a certain particular budget as to what we have to do, but we are at the mercy of the weather. If the weather is bad, we still have to pay certain bills, whether there are people on the beach or people that are at Patriot Park. If something is rained out, we lose money on that. If the weather is terrible, we lose revenue on parking. We still have a budget to keep, but our budget, in order to maintain that, is determined in many cases by Mother Nature. And some of that is in this report here. I just wanted people to be aware of that.
Thank you, Mr. Lanning. All right, if there are no other comments, we have a motion and a second on the table. Shannon, can you call the roll, please?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, we will pick this up at our next meeting. Next item on the agenda is the total maintenance agreement for the golf course. Jeremy?
Yes, and Randy Durham, Golf Course Superintendent, is here this evening to present this to the board as well as answer any questions you may have.
Nice to see you back. Welcome.
Good evening, thank you.
Just please state your name for the
Randy Durham, Golf Course Superintendent.
Thank you.
For you tonight, we have this renewal for our agreement that we've had for the last 20 years with the Toro National Support Network. What they do is they cover support and warranty items for the central control system that runs our sprinkler systems. We put in our first system 20 years ago. They've been a great help to us. This past summer, 2 times the hard drive on the computer had crashed. We're going through different screens trying to find out what the problem is. We make a couple phone calls. They ship the new PC to us. By the next day, we were back up and running. There were some other times this past year that we had a lightning strike, which they do not cover Mother Nature, acts of Mother Nature like that. But we had fuses blown throughout the golf course. And we replaced all the fuses, and we still weren't communicating, and we talked to them, and they walked us through changing some settings. That afternoon, our sprinkler system was back up and running again. So basically, this is the same agreement that we've had. This is just a renewal. Our current contract expires in April this year, so we're just trying to get back in line. The only changes that we've made with it is the past years, we were paying a lump sum payment. Either 3 or 5 years, all in one fiscal year of payment. It was very hard to budget like that. So we've sat down and talked about going and change that to a monthly payment. So it's easier to budget year after year. We keep the same dollar amount in our budget, and it'll cover any necessary items that we may have to address. The way I look at it, it's an awful lot like a health insurance plan. Yeah. You hate to need it, but when you do need it, it's great to have. So, if you have any other questions, I'd be happy to try to answer.
Thank you, Randy. Any other questions for the Superintendent of the golf course? This includes software updates as well?
Yes. The renewal will come with the latest version. So,
how often do they push upgrades? Do you have any idea?
About 4 years, usually. The last one, they upgraded right before we renewed. But they have there's some things in there that they've changed this year where apparently we're still running on Windows 7. It needs to be upgraded to Windows 10. Otherwise, Microsoft will not support it. So no matter what we have to do, we're going to have to get a new PC for it.
All right. Any other questions? Comments? Any questions from the public? What's the pleasure of the board?
I'd move that we accept the Toro maintenance agreement for the golf course.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thanks for coming in tonight. Good luck with that. All right, the next item is the 2020 line dancing classes. Jeremy?
Yes, and all of this will be the same as it was in 2018 and 2019. Ms. Christine Hayes from Amarillo Star Dance Club would like to hold her beginner line dancing classes at Memorial Hall on Wednesday evenings, which we do have on our books, and the facility is available, starting February 12th, running through December 30th. So basically for the whole calendar year on Wednesday evenings. There'd be 6:30 to 7:30 for intermediate line dancing and couples dance from 7:30 to 8:45. It would be $8 per person, $10 per person for the whole $8 per person per session, or $10 per person for the whole evening, or a 6-class pass for $40 total. And then anyone who's a part of her Amarillo Dance Club would receive a $1 off of the registration fee. And then there would be an 80-20 split with the instructor, with Miss Christine Hayes, taking 80% or keeping 80%, and the park department receiving 20%, and that's standard to all of our programs and how that is structured. So again, same as fee structure as in 18 and 19. It's been pretty well attended. Falls off on certain months, but she has a pretty good following, does an outstanding job, and is a good steward of the park department and the facility itself. So I would highly recommend approval this evening.
Thank you, Jeremy. Any questions or comments from the board? I just have one. I'm thrilled that this continues to renew, just to give any recreational opportunities for our citizens beyond the stick and ball, as much as we can add. It just is a great outlet and opportunity for people to get out and meet other people and enjoy themselves, and that's what we're all about. So I'm happy this is on the agenda, and happy she keeps coming back to offer this opportunity. Any questions from the public? All right. What's the pleasure of the board?
I would like to make a motion that we accept program and fee approval for line dancing classes for starting February the 12th and running through December the 30th of this year.
I would second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right. Up next is the Park Department MOU with Trail Creek. Jeremy?
Yes, and again, same terms of the MOU as we've had the past couple of years with the town of Trail Creek for use of Nelson and Condon Parks for our youth baseball and softball leagues. This will run from April 1st of 2020 through July 31st of 2020. With this, the Park Department will be responsible for placing porta pots out at the facility for use of the league. As well as our staff responsible for dragging and lining of the fields. That's basically it. They're responsible for cutting the grass and the regular upkeep of that facility with their park department. This again, April 1st of this year through July 31st, which encompasses our season. And Attorney Pichardo originally put this MOU together, and I did speak with him before the meeting tonight. And since he put it together, he approves of the agreement itself. As you can see, also, this has already been approved by the town of Trail Creek and signed by their president. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Thank you, Jeremy. Any questions or comments? So, Jeremy, I just want, just for clarification, in exchange for us providing porta pots and dragging the fields, we get use of their fields and a first priority use?
Yes, first priority use, free of charge. Again, our donation to them is continuing to utilize their parks, which they like to see people in their parks, as well as providing the porta pots for those few months and having our staff maintain as far as dragging and lining of the field. So really good partnership. This originated from the previous organization, Trail Creek Youth Sports, or their youth baseball league. They decided to disband, and at the time they were running programming in T-ball in the younger ages from 5-year-olds to 8-year-olds, and then we were picking them up at the park department, playing out of Patriot and Gardena Parks from 9 to 16. Well, when they vacated, there was no one to provide programming or provide youth baseball and softball for kids of the 5 to 8 age range. So that's when we stepped in. Sat down with the town of Trail Creek and needed the use of their fields just because of space. So it's been really good for us, and that age group still loves playing in like a neighborhood park. So we get a lot of positive feedback and comments from the parents and spectators as well.
Thank you for adding that additional color. Any other questions or comments?
Just that I'm just a baseball, softball groupie, I guess. I've been out there to watch games, and it is a nice venue just to sit and enjoy young kids play. specifically have a team I pull for, but just, the people are comfortable, the park is comfortable, and I think our maintenance people do a great job of preparing the field for these young kids to play.
Thank you, Mr. Freeze. Any other questions or comments? Any questions from the public? Seeing none, do we have a motion to approve the Park Department MOU with the town of Trail Creek?
I would move that we accept this memorandum of understanding with the town of Trail Creek.
I would second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Moving right along, 2020 Michigan City Adult Softball League and Rules. Jeremy?
Yes, and that is in front of you this evening. This is an 18 and over league for adults here in Michigan City with a 12-game season and a double elimination postseason tournament. Games will be played on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays, both at Patriot Park and at either Adams Park or Gardena Park. Last year we lost Adams because of the early season weather, so it just depends on the condition of Adams and being the high water table and kind of swampy conditions out there. But one of the other facilities will handle it outside of Patriot. We're looking at $500 per team for men's 12-inch, $500 per team for Big Bat Co-ed, which is an added spring-summer league that we're putting on. We used to just do the co-ed, and the difference is, and the reason why it's called Big Bat Co-ed is because our regular co-ed division, which we are requesting for $350 a team, that's the reason because the majority of their games are played outside of Patriot Park, so they don't have the quality of field conditions. But the regular co-ed league, the men have to play with a 28-inch T-ball size bat, if you will. And the Big Bat Co-ed, and they play on the smaller fields. The Big Bat Co-ed league is on the regulation fields, and both men and women hit with a regulation-sized softball bat. It has taken off. Teams love it, so we thought it would be a great addition to our league this year to add it. And then with that, $10 per hour for the league director and $25 per game for the umpires, which those are historically what we have paid for those two positions. Happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Thank you, Jeremy. Questions or comments from the board? I just have one, just as, I guess, a point of reference. We always try to make these leagues be at least cost neutral, and the fees, I think you mentioned the same as the prior year, except for the Big Bat portion.
Yeah, adding the Big Bat, and we actually lowered the men's 12-inch. Thanks for bringing that up because I failed to state that. We lowered the men's 12-inch by $25 per team. We were looking at other leagues and what they offer, depending on number of games for the fee itself, and we're starting to see a little bit of a decline in our men's leagues. Our co-eds are just booming, but our men's leagues were kind of faltering. So we're on opposite nights of what other communities are doing, and more dropping to $25. We listen to the teams without giving it away per se. We're trying to do the best to cover costs on our end, because at the end of the day, what you want from a program is to break even, worst case scenario. So that's what we try to do when we look at all of our leagues and our fee structures.
So that's a constant sort of evaluation to make sure the revenue neutrality of each program.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And historically too, some programs help offset maybe a little small deficit for other programs, but it's an overall non-reverting budget that it goes into that we try to make sure that we operate, at zero, if you will.
Thank you for that additional information. Any other questions or comments from the board?
Jeremy, after reading through the entry packet, I can't remember last year's, but it's about the same, isn't it?
Yep, everything was the same besides adding the Big Bat Co-ed
other than
information. Yeah,
Okay.
it's all the same as far as structure, rules, guidelines, and the like.
Has that been successful throughout the years? I remember when you incorporated this packet. I knew there used to be some disagreements. Are the number of disagreements down by people having access to this information?
Yeah, absolutely, and it holds people accountable. But at the end of the day, we have a really good group of our director has a really good rapport with the teams. all players, not just the team captains. We have a great group of umpires. Sure, they're going to miss some calls. All umpires do. But at the end of the day, people say what they need to say and they move on. It's nothing that, by having youth activities out there, maybe on the same night on the other side of the park, that creates a disturbance or a bad atmosphere that we wouldn't want youth around. So we're very cognizant of that. Players know that, and they respect that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the board? Any comments from the public? What's the pleasure of the board?
I would move that we accept the fees as proposed in Jeremy's plan for the 2020 Michigan City Softball Adult League.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, next on the agenda is the tree planting request. Jeremy?
Yes, and I'm very excited about this. I know I've brought it up on several occasions at park board meetings, but as the board recalls and the public recalls, the NIPSCO came through and had to eliminate all of our trees along Lakeshore Drive from our Lot 2 or our zoo parking lot entrance all the way to the exit of Fetters Alley because the trees were growing into the power lines. So they came and clear cut everything, and we've been working with them since to, hey, look, you cut the trees down, we want to replace in our park. So with that, they cut down approximately 30 trees, and 29, 30, I believe it was 30 at the end of the day, and we're looking to replace those. And working with City Forester Jessica Arnett and NIPSCO, we've identified some areas of the park that we wish to plant, which the diagram is a very, very rough diagram. Obviously, we will need to do locates, things of that nature. So it's conceptual, but you get the general idea of the area, concept of the area we wish to plant with, which 22 redbud and serviceberry trees along Lakeshore Drive, 5 bur oak trees around Fetters Alley, and then 5 river birch trees in the gazebo campus area of Washington Park. So give us a couple additional trees, help beautify the area, give us a little bit of color. These are, according to our city forester, low maintenance trees that won't add anything to park staff with our limited staff, but with initially putting them in, her staff is going to be assisting with any trimming or grooming of the trees that might need to happen in the future, as well as watering. So it's at no cost to the park department. This will all be covered by NIPSCO. And furthermore, what we're looking at doing, and this is very, again, conceptual at this point, but we know we are going to do something with this event, but a volunteer community day on March 28th. We're looking at 9 a.m. Again, details forthcoming, but it would be the NIPSCO nursery staff, park department representation, as well as community tree stewards or anyone who wants to be a part of it to come out and plant the trees in Washington Park. And I think it would be a great idea, a great time to kick off the spring planting season, as well as bring the community together for a real good deed in Washington Park and have them have a hand in planting these trees in the park. So really excited about it. As we finalize the details on that, I'll make sure we put out information on that, create an event, and get the community's involvement, and definitely make sure the board knows as well. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Thank you, Jeremy.
I just have one question. I'm very happy that they're going to replace that, but they cut down 30 and they're putting back 22. Is there a possibility that we could get them to replace?
It's actually more. It's 22 redbud, 5 bur oak, and 5 river birch.
Right, but the 22 that are along Lakeshore
Right,
Drive, there were 30 that were cut down. If we could get them just to replace one for one, I would be happier.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. Well, and the way we looked at it, just for that, the type of tree that was come out and spacing it out to where they're not growing into each other and things of that nature, that's how it was looked. That's why it became the number 22.
That's what my next question was. Thanks for clarifying.
So
that.
again, that was in our conversation with the NIPSCO forester, the city forester,
Gotcha.
and myself. And so that's why I was okay, because at first, I understand what you were saying. Hey, there's 30 long, we want to replace 30.
Right.
But because of the type of the tree and the layout, they felt it was better to space them out a little further.
Thank you for the clarification.
Any other questions or comments?
I have one. Jeremy, do you know the species of trees of the approximately 30 that were taken down by NIPSCO, were they all the same? Or were they different?
Yeah, they were all the same type of tree.
It's an invasive species.
Yeah,
It
and I'm
was?
not really sure what
It's an invasive pear tree.
pear tree. Yeah. So, and these also these type of trees will not grow tall enough to even get into the
Okay.
wires,
Yeah.
which
That
is
was
another
gonna be
reason
my
why they
next
picked this type of tree.
Right.
So other than a little bit of pruning or cut back here and there occasionally, but they feel, and I've been assured that these will be very low maintenance, that it won't become a problem.
It's just a comment, but redbuds are my favorite tree.
Anyway,
Have
some
a tendency to
add some nice
split,
color, yeah.
though, and kind of go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that's
Yeah,
what the
right.
pruning and
Right.
Jessica feels that she will be able to oversee that and manage that.
Great.
And if obviously assistance is needed from the park department, we can give that.
Thank you.
Yeah, the red buds, when they flower in the spring, are
They're
absolutely
beautiful.
beautiful. So that will be a welcome
Right.
driving along Lakeshore Drive.
Any idea how much watering will be initially needed through the first summer?
I'm not exactly sure how much, but we can look at watering bags possibly to put on them. But again, Jessica has assured me that her and her staff will take care of that. And usually for the first 2 years, I don't know exactly how mature these trees are coming in. They're not going to be just the twigs that, and we're going to have to see this over time. They're supposed to be fairly mature trees for planting. But probably for the first year to 2 years, there'll be significant watering multiple times a week.
Any other questions or comments?
One other question. If during that 1 or 2 year time, if 1 or 2 of them die, are they going to replace them, or will we have to do that?
As I'm of the understanding that they would be replaced,
Excellent.
but I will confirm that and follow up with the board.
Thank you.
Any questions from the public? Seeing none, what's the pleasure of the board?
I would move that we approve the Washington Park tree planting request.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
Shannon, is there any other business that we need to address that isn't on the agenda tonight?
No, sir.
Thank you. We'll move right into the superintendent's report then. Jeremy,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
I'd like to start off. Had the pleasure of sitting down with Councilman Mack over lunch and had a really good conversation. And like to welcome him on board. He has some great ideas, and it was a really uplifting conversation. I appreciate your excitement, your enthusiasm for the city of Michigan City and for the park department. And I'm looking forward to continuing our relationship and bouncing things off of each other and continue putting this city in the direction that it needs to go in, specifically with youth programming and opportunities for our young kids here in our community. So again, I just want to thank you for that opportunity. As the board knows, Events and Rec Coordinator Abigail Kupta is no longer with the city. Her last day of work was this past Friday. With that, I do want to take this opportunity to publicly thank her for her hard work and dedication to the city as a whole, but specifically to the park department. She did some good things in her short time, in her short tenure here, that we will miss. But with that, per Mayor Perry, all recreational leagues and programs will now become my responsibility or the department's responsibility as the event and rec coordinator, as it was previously constructed. Is no longer how he plans and intends to move forward with that. So there will be some additional responsibilities put on, myself and the park department to kind of take over what Abigail was doing and look to expand that. So I did mention at the first meeting of the new year that we had a plan in place. Abigail and I were talking, and we were going to really kick off some additional programming. And look excited to kind of do 2020 and really expand what we were doing, because that's what our community deserves. With that, I plan to begin a social media campaign to engage residents in hopes of getting them involved, assisting us with programs, see what kind of ideas are out there, because we do not have the staff that can just put people in places necessarily to run programs. So we do need the assistance of the community. And again, similar to The dance that was approved earlier, there can be money to be made potentially on programs. We're looking at some free programs that can be offered because I think that's very important to make sure that we are reaching all members of our community and doing it in the neighborhoods or at centers or community spaces where they can get to easily, not necessarily everything out at Patriot Park. So we do hear what the residents are saying. We want to make sure that we're continuing to provide for them. So just so the board knows that's a process that we are beginning. Has begun, and we will continue to work diligently to make sure that we are doing what the Michigan City Park Department is supposed to be doing and what our city expects us to do. With that as well, we're looking at a major turnover. I believe I mentioned this before too, a major turnover in our lifeguarding program with probably the majority of the staff from last year not returning, which will create a huge void, being that there seems to be a shortage of lifeguards in our area. That we are working with the YMCA. We're working with the Michigan City area schools to try to help with that. But I'm also going to begin a social media campaign as well to recruit potential lifeguards. It's very important, as you know, that we have a quality lifeguard staff down in Washington Park from Memorial Day to Labor Day to help and protect those who come and visit our lakefront. Continue to give out warnings because, as we know, Lake Michigan can be very unfriendly at any given point in time. So if you do know of anyone who is interested, and another misnomer is that we only will hire high school or college age kids. I don't care how old you are, if you're a certified Red Cross lifeguard and you try out and you can pass the test, you can be a lifeguard on our beach. So I want to make sure that is well known because I was approached by an older individual who says you need to hire adults. I'd hire a whole staff of 15 of them because that's how many we hire if they try it out. It's not just for kids. So I want to make sure that's clear that you have to be 15 years of age, but there's no max on top. So we're looking for the next Mitch Buchanan if he or is out there. So anyway, male, female, it does not matter. Just have to be 15 years of age and be a Red Cross certified lifeguard. Hopefully we receive some interest. With that, and it was brought up earlier this evening by Ms. Stransky, but we are, regarding the budgets, we are going through a cost savings analyzation within our department where we are essential spending only, as I know I mentioned last meeting, due to budgetary mandates from the mayor. And I think we can operate, well, I know we can operate under these constraints. My concern is exactly what the definition of that is. And we were told that we were going to be receiving a meeting with the city controller to further dive into this. We have not been able to have that meeting yet. I put in another request on Monday, and I'm hoping that happens soon. I know Ms. Hoffmaster is very, very busy dealing with a lot of issues right now from her department, but it's very imperative that the park department meets with the controller to get a better understanding. And I'll explain it a little further, is our revenues that we bring in, our operating budget, whether it's parking in Washington Park, whether it's zoo admissions, our shelter rentals, things of that nature, that plus whatever tax draw we receive, that's our revenue. Okay, our budgets are put together, but we have been told that we cannot spend over the revenue that we bring in. We receive a tax draw in June and one in December. We get revenues throughout the year, but if, to your point, Mr. Lang, if we have weather-related issues, obviously we're not going to hit our projected revenues. So as an entire department, the zoo included, that we know already is operating at a deficit, and that's just the nature of the beast there, that over the years it's been $350,000, $325,000, and there was this task force that was put together many years ago, and we got the zoo down to about a $250,000 a year loss. And obviously things change. Price of food, price of hay, cost of everything. So now we're looking at animal collection. Can we get rid of and place certain animals, as was brought up in a previous meeting, to where it limits or decreases our cost on food or whatever it might be, product. So with that, we have to have an understanding, because the zoo is a part of our operating budget. So somewhere that $250,000 has to be made up. So it just because we have a budget, we're not spending our entire budget. The Park Department has never spent our entire budget that the City Council has adopted and approved. So we are good stewards of our budget, but we need an understanding of what that actually looks like, because we have an idea, but we're not for sure what we're expected from a tax draw standpoint, and then obviously projected revenues are subject to change annually once we get our actual revenues in. So to be good stewards of our budget, to do right by the mayor and the city council and our community, it is very important that we have this meeting as soon as possible so we can put a plan in place for our department moving forward throughout the 2020. That being said, our maintenance cleanup is underway. First time, our earliest ever, we have all of our holiday light displays down. And that's because of the weather has been so nice. Usually it's like March, late March, and they're still frozen in the ground, and we're unable to get them. But maintenance staff did an excellent job of taking advantage of the weather that we had. I also spoke of Washington Park beach erosion at previous meetings. On February 21st, Shannon and I will be meeting with some of our, we'll call them our committee, getting it back together, but members of the City of Gary, Indiana State Park, or National Park, Save the Dunes, getting and members of some other communities and lakefronts to see what other communities are dealing with, how they're affected, what their process is going to be, what they're looking at doing with their cities, with their mayors, to continue to have access, public access, because a lot of them are dealing with the same issue that we are, where we have sand walls, and it's becoming a safety issue. So once we do that, my goal is to bring that back to the mayor and to the park board, continue to have those discussions about how we want to approach it, and then once we come up with a final approach, hopefully relatively soon, is to work through the Sheridan Beach Homeowners Association, possibly call a meeting, whether it be a workshop or go to one of their homeowners association meetings to give them information and how we plan to proceed. Because I have already received contact from several homeowners wanting to know how can they get their beach path and their beach access open back up, and what do they need to do. They're trying to do it the right way, or they're wanting to do it the right way and abide by city policies and regulations, and I appreciate that, but we have to do what's best for the entire habitat of the dune as well. But public access is very important to us, to our community, to our lakefront. With that, finally, the Carson's Chili Cook-Off, I'll continue to remind you, is Saturday, February 22nd from 12 to 3 p.m. at the DAV on Ohio Street. Tickets can be purchased for $5 at the door. All proceeds go to benefit the Jerry Carson's Athletic Scholarship Fund, where we give out two $1,500 scholarships annually, one male, one female, to a high school student athlete in LaPorte County. So really, really good cause. Continuing to have these events, making more money. We're looking at either adding additional scholarships or adding to the dollar amount as we continue to grow. And we've been doing that over the years, is adding to that dollar amount. So really, really good group of kids that continue to apply throughout LaPorte County, and the service organizations specifically around Michigan City, are just phenomenal. Continuing to come out, having fun with it, providing chili, some really good chili, by the way, if you've never been out there, and just for a great cause and some good fellowship. So I want to continue to remind the board on that, and with that, no vandalism report this evening. I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Thank you, Jeremy. Any questions or comments for the superintendent?
Jeremy, in reference to the lifeguards, is there any where can you go to get certified, and is there a cost involved, and do you have to wait till warm weather?
Great questions. There is a cost involved. It's the cost of, just depends on who's teaching the course, but there's usually a Red Cross fee and then possibly an instructor fee. But again, it depends on who's doing it. Right now, the only place I know for sure that does it is our YMCA, and that's included ours, LaPorte's. I mean, I consider it the same as LaPorte County YMCA. There are other individuals, or there is another individual I know that does it, and she might be willing to assist us in some of this, but she's out of Illinois. So it's just a matter of scheduling. I'm not 100% sure if or when the YMCA has a class scheduled at this point in time, but they usually seem to always do them right about before the season kicks off. So maybe started in April, finishes in early May, rough timeline is what they seem to do them annually. And then it happens indoors at the YMCA or at a pool facility for that. So there's additional certifications that can be had, like lakefront certification, that goes above and beyond your regular Red Cross lifeguard certification. But the minimum needed for us to apply and to be hired is a Red Cross certified lifeguard. Then we look to get everyone lakefront certified as a unit or as a team, if you will.
I know the counselors out at school, especially Miss Meyer, can promote that. Would we, or is there somehow, perhaps we could get something at Purdue? That maybe someone who's a freshman or upperclassman looking for summer employment and enjoys, just kind of the scenery at the lakefront might be interested.
Yeah, absolutely. So in years past, our Washington Park lifeguard team or crew, if you will, has recruited itself. We've had the benefit of that. And we've only a couple times had to expand out to really promote it or to offer it or to make sure people were aware of it. And we have done Purdue before. We go through the high school swim teams, all the schools in our area. We had a lifeguard come from either Whiting or St. John one year that worked for us. That was a real good employee. So we're competitive with what we pay compared, with other lakefronts, communities around Lake Michigan, around this area. So it's a really good job, but it can be a stressful job as well. So I don't sugarcoat that one bit, but there are definitely ways. But again, I go back to this. Seems to be the shortage that we have in talking with everyone that is looking to hire lifeguards, that there's just not big enough pool to pull from, of lifeguards to pull from. For the last couple years, the YMCA has called me towards the end of the season and said, do you have any lifeguards you can spare, and send them over here. And some of them we've had that have, on their days off, have went over there and worked and got hired somewhere else as well. So I have no problem with sharing from that standpoint, or giving it kids or whoever the opportunity to work in multiple places. But my first focus is making sure that we hire a quality staff in Washington Park. And I'm still working on getting that as a part of the curriculum at Michigan City High School. We're close. They're getting questionnaires out, or however they go about their process of what classes they would like to see offered, seeing if they get even enough kids that would sign up for it. And if they get that, I have the teacher, Candy Fear, right now, who's one of the PE teachers. She is willing to go and become certified, recertify as a lifeguard, but then get her certification so she can instruct and certify. So we can make this hopefully an annual course at the high school, but then also would allow us to work with Candy off-season as well, to where maybe we could run lifeguard certifications through the park department as well. So that's my hope, and it's where we're trying to get. It's just a little slow process to get there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. Any other questions?
Just one comment. Since these meetings are broadcast, would you be so kind as to give a telephone number in case someone is watching who may be interested or knows someone who may, so that they could call and find out more information?
Absolutely. You can contact the Michigan City Park office Monday through Friday from 8 to 4:30 at 219-873-1506, or reach me on via email at jkienitz, that's JKIENITZ at emichigancity.com.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeremy, one other comment. You mentioned during your superintendent's report the Sheridan Beach Association and Dunescape Association. If you could just make them aware of the tree planting volunteering opportunity, because I know they were both very
vocal, and rightfully so, to get some trees replaced that were cut down. I think they'd be glad to be notified, one, the project's moving forward, and two, I think they would welcome the opportunity to volunteer.
Will do, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Any questions from the public? All right, we'll move right on to the liaison reports. Planning Commission, Ms. Espar.
Yes, thank you. The Planning Commission held its first meeting of 2020 last week on January 28th. I'm now the secretary of the Planning Commission. Other than that, I have nothing to report pertaining to the Park Department.
Thank you. Port Authority, Mr. Freeze.
I have nothing to report. If there was a meeting, I wasn't able to go.
Thank you. And Zoo Society, Mr. Lang.
All right, the Zoological Society does not meet in January, and their next meeting will be next Tuesday. However, they have a committee who has been very, very, very busy planning one of the bigger fundraisers for the year, and that is the Zubilee that is held every year. And so this is part of my commercial. Zubilee this year will be entitled Zubilee 2020's Flight Night, and it will be held April the 25th, 2020 at the Michigan City Airport, and this is going to be in a hangar. So it's going to, they've had that there before and have returned to that. It is from 5 to 9 p.m. It is a 21 and over event. So there will be beer, wine, food, live entertainment. There are 2 ticket categories. And again, remember, this is a fundraiser. There's a $50 ticket that includes 10 tickets that can be used for food or drink. That includes 4 free game tickets. Or the first class $100 ticket is unlimited food and drink for the night, along with 4 game tickets. Now, the $100 ticket also includes a plane ride for those who are brave that do not mind flying. But the quantity is limited for that, and the flights are provided by Region Flyers. For those who like games, and some of you may be interested in this, they will have axe throwing. And I know some people are going, oh my God, axe throwing has become a rather popular item now, and it's something that is safe. Whether you want to believe that or not, it truly is. So they are sponsoring that, and that is sponsored by Lucky Hatchet. That is the group sponsoring that. There's going to be live performance from South Shore Dance Alliance. Music is provided by Apple Sound. The food is yummy food provided by Patrick's Grill, Matey's Restaurant, and more, including drink stations located around the event. And Eventbrite is taking care of the tickets, but they're, to mention the web address for that is a little bit long, but if you have questions, you can call 873-1510 for more information. And that is the end of my commercial, and we will now return to regular programming.
Mr. Lang, I assume this isn't one of those black tie optional, or do you just take your jacket off for the axe?
This will be comforting, whatever you so desire, yes.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lang. Jeremy, any report from the attorney tonight?
No, sir.
Thank you. Any more, or any director's reports?
No, sir.
All right, move right into Department Finances. Mr. Lang, please.
Under Michigan City Park Department claims docket for February the 5th, 2020. Municipal, $38,368.63. Zoo endowment, nothing there. So the total claims, $38,368.63. And I so move that we pay that claims docket for February the 5th, 2020.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
Next item, payroll number 2 for 2020. This is pay date of January the 17th, 2020. This takes care of the dates December the 29th of 2019 to January the 11th. And this total payroll is $42,533.70, and I so move that we meet this payroll.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Under reports of gifts and donations. Current Electric Youth Baseball / Softball, $350. George's Apex Muffler Incorporated Youth Baseball / Softball, $350. And I so move that we take care of this gift and donation.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
Under minor transfers, there are none at this time. Under Zoo Endowment, none at this time. Under Board of Works, none at this time. Under credit card charges, credit card charges are totaling $1,101.47. This is paid to corporate payment systems, parking, and thermal paper, $772.47. Corporate payment systems maintenance / pool certification, $329. I make a motion that we pay our credit card charges,
Second.
totaling $1,101.47.
Still second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
And that is it for finances.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to comments from the public. Any comments tonight? Seeing none. Comments from the board? Any? Just please.
I am so looking forward to working with this group and being part of it. And I just wanted to thank Jeremy for the conversation we had and the time we spent. And we spent an hour and a half talking about a range of things. And mainly I just wanted him to get to know me and my passion, because I've watched board meetings and I think you guys do a fantastic job. We do a lot of big things in Michigan City, and it's not easy to organize people and big events and things like that. It's even more difficult to organize smaller things and voluntary type things, and that's where my passion is at. I'm an old Elston Red Devil. You have to be a certain age to remember who I am. Ask your parents if you know that. Yeah, so I won't go into any of those stories. In the last 5 years, I've been an assistant track coach with the high school. I worked with Shaman and Karpinski when they began the Unified Track Program, which is a track program with the Special Olympics. Yeah, and you guys probably know exactly how that works. I won't go into too much detail because I'll start getting emotional. Those are my babies. That's my crew, and I don't have any ability to commit like I used to when my son was in school. But I'm still one of the benefactors. I get on the bus and buy him candy, and I'll continue that habit. But obviously, I'm big on athletics. I think it builds character, discipline, and stuff like that. I'm big on FaceTime between young people and quality adults, and that's why I think baseball and chess are the two passions of mine when it comes to this. And I'm going to be trying to find a way to work with Jeremy to make that happen for the poor people in Michigan City that can't afford transportations, whose parents are struggling with daycare and babysitters, all of the stuff that we all know. I'm going to be advocating and trying to find ways to make that happen. The baseball, I've been involved with the West Side baseball situation where the prison has that. For the last 5 years, there was a gentleman that did the field and had it all almost going so well, because the real cats, I came to one event and there was 200 family members and kids. I mean, it was just vibrant. And for organizational reasons, it all crashed and burned. Last couple of years, there's been another gentleman that I've helped donate money to paint the fields and do some things. Same difficulty in organizing people, and organizing people is difficult, just like you guys know, and it's imperfect. And organizing baseball for kids is ugly. I'm sure it has to be. So I'm going to prioritize trying to work with some people in the community to get those kids what they deserve, which is good quality programming and the ability to interface with adults. And chess, I learned how to play chess in Memorial Park back when there was a group when I was 8 and 10 years old. Those old guys took me in and a bunch of the neighborhood kids. I grew up right across the street from Memorial Park in one of those little streets. And I forget the day, but we would go in there religiously, and those old guys taught us how to play chess. And I'm pretty good right now. So I take that. So those are my passions. That's what I'm looking forward to, and that's what I hope we can all accomplish. So I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Believe me, we're excited you're here as
We're
well.
lucky to have you.
Any other comments or questions? Or comments, I should say, from the board? Hearing none, we have a motion to adjourn.
So move.